Thanks.
Thank you to all of you for your time first. That's great because my presentation will be a little longer, so I have just the time to do it. So today, my name is Cécile Asanuma-Brice. I'm senior researcher and co-director with Olivier of Mitate Lab post-Fukushima studies. And today I will make a presentation about Namie, a country village projected as a global model of post-nuclear accident resiliency. So the plan of the presentation, first I will speak about the situation before the disasters and after. My third point will be about the preparation of reconstruction through the creation of a memorial narrative. My fourth point will be about the reconstruction itself, and at least I will try to analyze the projection of a country village into the world. So first of all, just to localize the Namie here in yellow inside of the evacuation order zone. And as you can see, with an area of 223 quarter kilometer and a population of 21,784 inhabitants before the disaster, Namie is, in fact, even now, the largest municipality in the former evacuated area. And another feature is that Namie stretches from the coastline, which was partly devoted to the fishing industry, to the coastal plains, consisting of urban areas with extensive rice growing enclaves, to the inland mountains, which were few farms whose activity was based on cattle breeding and agricultural crops. So Namie thus presents a complete panoply of regional landscapes in all their diversity. The municipality is composed of almost 70% of forests in the mountain and 8% of rice fields, 5% of fields, around 3% of grassland, and an equivalent number of urbanized area. So Namie is divided in 6 districts. It had 7,120 dwellings in 2005, distributed as follows. And what we can see that Namie here have the highest density of population. And since 1995, this municipality has seen its population fall by 1,000 inhabitants at each 5-yearly census, suffering of a significant and regular demographic decline in the same way as all Japanese rural communities. So this is Namie after the Tohoku triple disaster in 2011. The municipality of Namie had to deal with the tsunami in its coastal area for 6 quarter kilometer. That's not nothing, and was also hit hard by the fallout from the radioactive cloud that ran diagonally across its length. So this is some modelization made about evacuation by Tsukuba University, and they show that on March 11, the day of the triple disaster, the inhabitants, a part of them, just 2,000 people of the coastline and Namie district were first evacuated to the town hall and public facilities, providing within a radius of 3 kilometers and then 10 kilometers. So Namie's data are in blue here. The second wave of evacuation take place on from 12 to 14 of March, and they were evacuated within a radius of 20 to 30 kilometers to public facilities in Tsushima ward, which is one of the most contaminated wards in the area, while information of the contamination was not yet available. The third wave of evacuation take place from 15 of March to April 21st, and the entire population of Namie was this time evacuated to the neighboring township of Nihonmatsu. And after that, from April 22, Namie residents will be relocated, splitting all the communities to hotels in 5 towns, villages in Fukushima Prefecture, Nihonmatsu, Fukushima, Inawashiro, Bandai, Kitachiobara municipalities, and then relocated to temporary housing as they are built. So we just have to see that to understand that in almost 1 month and a half, these people had to move more than 6 times. We tried to make some assessment of losses. 182 people died at the time, and 150 of whom were drowned by the tsunami. In December 2020, 441 people are recorded as having died as a result of the disaster. 9.5% of the living space was flooded and 22% of the buildings. Of these, 651 houses and 586 washed away and 65 damaged by the earthquake. The damage caused by the tsunami was significant in this municipality, generating 289,000 tons of waste, in addition to the tons of soil from the decontamination process began in 2013. In addition, the evacuation of the entire municipality following the nuclear accident resulted in the loss of livestock and other domestic animals left in the area, you can see as below pictures. So preparing for reconstruction after 10 years will take place first through the creation of a memorial narrative. So there is the role of places of remembrance in the creation of the happy ending, and the main role is taken by Ukedo Primary School and the displacement of the graves adjacent to the school. So this Ukedo Primary School opened its door in October 2021. And if the memory of the disaster seems to be preserved, it is mainly through the relics of a primary school where all the pupils and their teachers were, by chance, saved. Moreover, the cemetery that was adjacent to the school was moved, effectively erasing the link to death and generating a narrative with a happy ending that will naturally lead to reconstruction in the same way as the other territories destroyed by the tsunami that did not suffer the nuclear accident. A stele in memory of the deceased has been installed away from the site. And there is another tool to create this narration, which is communication via online games, offering the real life of Namie's adventure as if it were a distant fantasy. We can play to this game. It's online and open in February 2023 in order to create opportunities for children from the town to develop an interest in their hometown by distancing of the nuclear event. This communication method aims to influence the youngest to return for living at Namie, as they just moved for more than 12 years now in other municipalities. An opinion survey on return intention was made and conducted by the municipality itself in September 2020 among 7,434 households. And only a part of them answered, that means around 4,000 households. And of this, 54.5% say they had decided not to return in their village, and 25.3% were undecided. Only around 11% wanted to return. 72% of those wishing to return were over 40 years old. Faced with these results, similar to those of other municipalities adjacent to the power plant, the government voted specific financial incentives for all people, even outside Fukushima prefecture, wishing to come and live in the area. Despite these measures, the current population is only around 9% of the original population. So preparing for reconstruction is also very concrete. So by reopening step by step the land by very few parts and delimiting 2 priority reconstruction zones also destined to be reopened. So one is here, this is Kiyohashi, and the other one is here, this is Tsushima. Apart from the coastal zone, which was partially reopened to residential use in 2017, it's here in green. The rest of the territory, including 2 priority reconstruction zones, remained under evacuation order. This order was lifted in March 2023, just lifted now, for a small part of these 2 zones, increasing the habitable area to 20% of the municipality. 80% of the municipality of Namie is still under evacuation order. Before the 2011 earthquake, Namie had a population of 21,000 inhabitants, and after 12 years under evacuation order, it has only now around 2,000 inhabitants, mainly consisting of reconstruction workers and their families. Of these, around 900 people live in the 2 priority reconstruction zones. So what about the reconstruction of Namie town center? First, they decided to build 2 hotels just for the construction workers. And after, they rebuilt first housing estates, mainly composed by flats in collective housing. And there is also a little bit of 36 units of low-cost small detached houses. The town hall has been reopened also, as well as a temporary shopping center nearby with houses 2-3 catering business when we visited in 2022. And those businesses were partly closed when we visited in January 2023. An Aeon supermarket was also built nearby. Roads, at the same time, the rehabilitation of the main roads has allowed the reopening of national and local services via the Joban National Road since 2015. Road 6, also famous for passing in front of the damaged power plant, and Road 115, all of these 3 roads of which still have high levels of radioactivity and pass through areas where stopping is prohibited. A free bus runs 3 times a day from the automated station in Namie, which was reopened in 2020 for the Olympics, to the nearby town of Minamisoma. But the heart of Namie's reconstruction is certainly the Michinoeki shopping center, which presents itself as the symbol of reconstruction. This chain of shops has the particularity of being built with public funds in most villages in the Japanese countryside as part of the rural revitalization policy. This structure ticks the boxes of the Sustainable Development Objective of SDGs one by one, at least in appearance. This commercial space, made of imported wood, has a pleasant design, combining tatami restrooms, a cafeteria, a few stars, and a Mizurishi shop, which is also very trendy, if not adapted to the local population. A contamination measuring station displays the ambient radioactivity level at the entrance of the shop to reassure the shoppers. A few charging points for electric cars are available at the back of the shop. Plastic bouncy castles and other mascots or games for children and live on the place. illuminated with 1,000 electric lights from November to January in order to celebrate a Christmas that is not celebrated in Japan, but we have such kind of monumental illumination in all the shopping malls here. And this equipment is the main meeting place of the inhabitants. On the right wing of the building, a shop sells from traditional pottery from the region. This building, which is the only animated center in the locality, is in fact quite busy. A few kilometers away, on the other side of the Namie station, a complex offering indoor games for children, a library, and health support services for the elderly, which is completely empty most of the time, is nevertheless in operation. Apart from the lack of use of the premises, its specificity is certainly that it extends for significant surfaces on a totally artificial ground. This last point is common to all the new towns built after the evacuation order was lifted in the localities adjacent to the power station being rebuilt. Thus, the reconstruction is taking place on asphalt carpets that stretch as far as the eye can see. What about Kumakengo's reconstruction plan? So it will open in 2026, and in a spirit similar to that developed for Michinoeki, according to which commercial surfaces should be the places of exchange and meeting of the community. And I really you to understand that it's not obvious at all, this way of understanding the meeting place. It is around a vast commercial center that Kumakengo and his collaborators decided to center the reconstruction of the district which was entrusted to them. Under the modest name of the Grand Design, this district will extend around the station, which will also be rebuilt for the occasion. By deliberately choosing an international renowned architect, the government is once again asserting its desire, already present with the Olympic Games, but aborted due to the corona epidemic, to attract the eyes of the whole world to this reconstruction. Here too, the ecology is displayed with wood as a facade material and 100% renewable energy from the FH2R hydrogen and solar station that was built nearby. So mainly the program is composed by collective housing, a shopping center, and a co-working space. So build around three concepts, which is passage, gathering, and relationship. This rehabilitation should see the light of day in 2026 for the sum of 120 million euros. If the scale of this reconstruction arouses curiosity, there are nevertheless strong questions that persist here. First, this urban complex does not seem to have been intended for the ancient, for the former population of Namie, whose main activity was rice cultivation in this part of the coastal plain and living in mainly in detached houses. The second point is apart from the fact that the proposed housing is exclusively collective housing, imposing a lifestyle dependent of consumption because of the impossibility of growing food by themselves or dependence on the electricity network, and practices of isolation that are not very adapted to the small number of inhabitants. Fears are being expressed by the population present in the town. For example, the shopkeeper in the temporary shopping area near the town hall, who came from Tokyo to live in Namie with the financial support offered by the government, shared with us her concern that she would not be able to pay rent inside the shopping center. So she said large shopping centers like this are for commercial chains. Small traders like us will not be able to pay the rents proposed. This is already the case in Michinoeki, she said. What about the reconstruction of Tsushima? So Tsushima is the part, it's on the north of Namie here. So this is before and after, not at the same place, but just to show the evolution of the architecture. So at the other end of the municipality, Tsushima is also preparing its requalification. It was almost decontaminated, and all the old houses have been destroyed, mainly. And the inhabitants of these villages regularly demonstrated under the slogan Furusato Okaise, give us back our native village. The reconstruction at this location is much more modest, limited to a dozen lightly built pavilion detached houses, squeezed together on the same plots as the district town hall. The reconstruction here stops here from the moment. Moreover, as the surrounding areas still show high levels of radioactivity, people entering these areas are asked to take a dosimeter, which is distributed at the entrance to the village. The residents, of whom there are currently less than 10 actually, because they are not the condition under which the inhabitants wish to return. Apart from the still significant contamination in the area, the houses were in part vast traditional residences with courtyards that sometimes housed centuries-old warehouse, a true architectural jewel of the region. Rehousing in cardboard suburban pavilions lined up in a row cannot replace the quality of the lost place of existence. There are no services for this area, and residents are encouraged to travel to the coastal city center for basic necessity. A projection of a country town, which is Namie, into the world. So Namie, in Namie, traditional nuclear investors, which are Toshiba and Mitsubishi, are now investing in solar energy too. First, it was the opening in 2020 of the world's largest hydrogen production unit in Namie, powered by a 20 megawatt solar mega plant. And the second one was Mitsubishi Mega Solar Power Plant, open in October of the same years. And these two projects make Namie the municipality with the largest solar power plants in Fukushima. So the first one, hydrogen plant is here, and the second one of Mitsubishi is here. The third project who have this objective of a projection of country town into the world is the International Institute for Research, Education and Innovation in Fukushima, calling FRAE, which just opened the 1st of April 2023 in the presence of the Japanese Prime Minister Kishida. This initiative aims mainly to become a world-class creative reconstruction center, and it aims to engage in various research, first mainly on robotic research for dismantling, and to solve persistent problems in an area where there is a lack of labor. Energy is another domain of research they wanted to develop inside, and this includes initiating basic research into the production of plants with additional function, such as increasing resistance and stability, rapid growth, and CO2 mass absorption characteristics. And here I have I feel that we should keep in mind to avoid mistake some question, and like, is it up to the plants to adapt to our industrial ways and the contamination they cause, or is it up to us to change the way we occupy the land and inhabit the world? The third big domains of research will be basic research into the use of radiation and radioisotopes, particularly in the discovery of new drugs for cancer treatment. And here there is an interesting semiotic reverser. Are this research focused on the incidence of radioisotope on developing cancer, or should we understand that radioisotopes will be used as cure in the discovery of cancer treatment? As conclusions, because I use all my time, in short, so this new research center offers the kit of resilience to manage at least a future nuclear accident. And for the first time in the world, a new town with all the equipment required will be settled in an area without or with very few inhabitants. And that's quite surprising. Questions are raised about this many productivist planning, which is based on a worldview according to which the exploitation of places is inevitable once they have been conquered by humans, and leaving them at rest is perceived as a loss. And this is not at all obvious. It is therefore fundamental to continue to question this reconstruction in areas that were already seeing their population decline before the disaster, and while all the villages reopened in 2017, like Itatemura or Naraha, are seeing their population decline again after the first wave of growth generated by the return of the elderly. Finally, we will question such an urban model with a very limited population, which will not aim to develop a better life closer to nature, but will respond to the rules of a society of overconsumption. That means inhabiting, consume, and work, with cheap houses in new cities to house the consumer, built on asphalt, mainly in collective housing. As the new town does not seem to be intended for the former inhabitants of Namie, it will be interesting to follow the development of the situation in the years to come. Thank you for your attention.